You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 82 for August 2021. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John. I would say how you're doing, but we've just been talking for like 2 hours.
Hour and a half-ish.
Hour and a half, yeah, okay. It's a good thing. We only talk once a month. Or
we might just be talking for like 2 minutes. Oh, wow. There's a thunderstorm going on outside. So
yeah, okay. So if this gets abruptly interrupted, well, that was your show.
Can you hear it?
I cannot hear it, no.
Okay, you'll hear it in the... It's very loud.
Recorded. Okay. For you, it's very loud. For me, I don't hear it at all.
Okay. Well, let's maybe we should keep it short than this time.
Okay. Well, we had a bunch of topics, so
also, it's been 5 years since we started this thing.
Oh yeah. Okay. We're like 5 years old. We can't vote. We can't smoke. We can't do lots of adult things. But we're 5 years old. I don't know. I mean, I would want to say, is that magical for a podcast? And in my brain is like, no. There's been lots of shows around for 5 years.
And this is a tiny podcast.
Yeah. Well, also, like...
It's a hobby project.
I'm attached to something that's historically very old podcast. We haven't even hit 1,000 episodes, but we've been doing it only once a week, not like 5 a week, right? So you get to used to be like YouTubers, like, oh, we got our 1,000th episode. I'm like, yeah. Because you're only 3 years old. Like, you're doing like 6 days a week. That's how you get to 1,000. Like, that's not a milestone really for you, because you're just sort of, it's just like, you're just handing them out. Like, they're all like 100% quality, right? So like, not a milestone.
I'm just going to do a podcast every day for the next year, and I'll pass OG in about 2 years.
Where are we
something?
At? We're 840, 240. I think we might be 844 this upcoming. See, now you're making me think about
it.
About
two and a half years until I pass
like so far in that okay. So 844 will be our upcoming when we record tomorrow.
I'll just do 3 podcasts a day.
Do 3
15
a day.
minutes.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing with like TikTokers or people doing shorts or Instagram stories. Like if you do 3 a day and you call them episodes, then yes, you could exceed something, and on paper it looks like it's very impressive. But to that point, most podcasts don't even last 5 years, right? They burn out. So I don't know. We're only doing this once a month.
Yeah,
that is
we took last month off.
Now.
So if you're wondering why you haven't seen one.
July is kind of semi-life crushing for me. It's just, I don't know. It's not even like I'm actively adding busy. Busy just finds me. And then they all sort of happen at the same time. So,
wow.
That's how I handle it. I take a deep breath.
Yeah. I'm having trouble breathing from all the loudness from outside. I'm looking at my PC and thinking, oh, it looks so nice, and it's gonna fry in a minute.
I think it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
Okay, so let's get into some topics.
Cut to.
So that we could get there. So basically I switched off from depending on my laptop. And I bought a I wouldn't even say semi-beefy, but for an Ultrabook, it was sort of beefy for its time. And it's the thing that I bought, and then I added docks, and I added eGPU, and I did my best I could do with it, and it was insufferable at various times, but when it worked, it was pretty solid.
How many docks did you have for that thing? 3?
Well, so to the point of things burning out, right? I had those docks were burning out. The PC was fine, but the dock would basically fry out. And there's a stack over there. I don't know how many, but I was like, nope, I like it this way. I'm going to spend the premium cost for this thing, and I bought so many. Yeah. Now I don't need to depend on them anymore, but I hadn't turned on my laptop in months. And so we had our Oticon pre-screening for the AMV contest. So I spent a weekend with humans. First time in a long time. And with my friends. So I kind of my laptop kind of worked. The battery was basically needed hours for the battery to kind of come back.
Oh, wow.
And because I basically hadn't been so used to being connected and charged all the time, something just wasn't right about it, and so it was getting very unreliable. So now, okay, so what's the thing? Could I go buy a brand new replacement battery and then literally just go in there myself and unplug it, get dispose of the old battery and put the new one in? Yes. And it can make my laptop work again. But I was on this original path before you convinced me and other convinced me to just screw it, get a desktop. You're going to get way more value out of that right now. And don't do another laptop. Well, I kind of need laptops at a certain time. Certain times of the year, and it is valuable to me.
Yeah, but they don't need to be the category of desktop replacement like you usually get.
Right. Well, and I was doing it to consolidate, not so that I had 9 PCs that all did one little thing, and then I had 9 PCs that are all aging at the same time. I used to do that. So
what he's referring to is like my problem in a minute. We'll get to
I'm
that.
not.
Okay.
But this is your problem. But that's just saying is like that isn't. I know that's a thing that I want to curb that so that I don't have that problem. I have one system that we're talking through right now. I have one system upstairs.
So the system downstairs, the oh wow, okay, the basement one. That's the. Can you hear it now?
I hear that now. I can. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Thunderstorms. So your basement system, that's a 3600, right? That's a.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
And then the top one is a 3700.
5700.
5700. Okay.
Yeah. No, 5900. Sorry.
Oh, 5900. Okay.
5900 with a 3080. RTX.
Yeah. I have a 5800. So.
Right. And this has the graphics card in this, the one that is the 3600 Ryzen is, I think it's, I was just looking at it a second ago, I think it's a 5700. Let me look. So we always have this conversation. But the whole point of me buying this system was something that was modern, but not something that was super powerful. Yeah, it's an RX 5700 graphics card. And so I'm not doing anything graphically intense. We did some streaming with it, and it worked flawlessly.
Yeah,
no
3600 is pretty good. I use mine for streaming. I have the 3600 XT, which is basically just a more expensive, slightly faster one than the 3600. So it's fine, and it runs hotter. That's also a thing. But okay, back to your laptop thing.
So the point is, this system is only on once a week, at best.
Twice.
And, or in this case, it will be 2 times this week. But, it's used for a very specific purpose. And I needed something where everything was connected to, and I need something with an ample amount of ports, and it being modern, meaning that I was going to get, high quality USB, and I was going to get more USB 3.0 ports on it compared to that old cheap thing that I bought years ago.
Well,
so that's
also
how I
zero
normally
setup, right? So it's like you turn it on and you're ready to record.
Yeah, and so that's also the benefit of it just being only like a year old worth of in terms of technology. So it was just way more modern. I was a lot like suffering with the degree of problems. And it's funny because once I connected my mixing board to it, a whole set of things that would never light up on my laptop or would never light up on the previous system just totally started working, which was always a complaint about this board. And it was just because the gear I was using wasn't super old, but it wasn't super new. And that's where the board was at, and the rest of the gear was not. So it just wasn't working as naturally as it should. And then as soon as I complemented it with something more modern, it's like, yeah, I work now. I was like, oh, this is wonderful. So that being said, I really kind of put my focus on having a couple desktops. And there is definitely a need in my life to have a beefy laptop. And so I definitely found one that was very expensive, and I was saving money for that. And instead that went into a desktop, a super beefy desktop. But now I got to start re-pulling money together because I was planning on replacing this laptop anyways, and the battery sort of give me a little headache. And yes, in the interim, I could, in theory, just replace the battery and get it working again. But I think it's beyond this point. I'm going to start putting that budget together to replace the laptop. And obviously, everything is going to be in difficult, short order. So when I'm ready to pull that trigger, I want to make sure that I'm not leaning towards when I'm ready to pull the trigger, that I just have the money and I'm going to buy. I already chose what I want. Unless something comes along that's better, I definitely know the pseudo beefy laptop that I want to have. Because when I
brand?
need, I want to get the Asus one. I want to get that Zen Duo. I think, I don't know what the exact name is, but there's one with the two screens on it.
Okay.
Right now it will have a 3070 in it, I think.
Just realize that those portable graphics cards are going to be.
Oh sure, right. You carry a brick with you.
Oh, they're gonna work. They're just gonna be very, very hot, very, very fast.
So that's the one thing is this is one of those few laptops. So they have a bunch of the Zen series that have done a very good job of ventilation. They even have ones that are a little less powerful that are thinner, that are more like my Ultrabook. So when I'm ready to do that, and I know there are a lot of laptops that are getting really good right now, but my needs when I need something on the go are much higher than the average individual who's like, I just want a game when I'm in the airport. Like,
so
I don't care about I don't care about gaming at the airport. Like, I don't care about that.
What kind
if
of price
I'm working
tag
on
are
the
you
film,
looking at? What kind of price tag are you looking at for that laptop?
We're talking multiple thousands.
Oh, wow.
So we're not talking a $1,300 laptop because I know what I'm buying. But maybe I'll decide against that. Maybe I'll decide for something that's more of a compromise. But to the point, I know that I am at this degree where I was ready. I was ready to upgrade the only main resource in my life, which was going to be sort of combination Ultrabook / desktop replacement, which is kind of what I was living off of. And I was going to replace that. Well, now I've already replaced that with physically a very nice desktop. It does all that I need and then some. And it fills my needs very well. So, but then I went to go start my laptop up and it's like, battery doesn't want to work. And when it works, it doesn't want to work for long. And oh, by the way, you got to power me. And it's sort of served its usefulness and it's outlived it. So that's going to be a thing I'm going to do.
Yeah.
it might be a 2022 thing. It might be the end of the year 2021 thing. But it's definitely going to be a major gift to myself. So that's it. So that's a thing
I'm familiar with those
on my mind. Because there's going to be a need again for me to have something on the go that's useful, especially when I'm doing editing, film editing. I really need something that helps me not pack 3 monitors with me, right? And that's the other reason to have like that sort of Zen Duo, where I can put the timeline on the bottom and have full screen on the top. So
yeah.
So anyhow, that was the thing that was worth mentioning. It was a most recent thing that was like plaguing me a little bit. Earlier in July. So, yeah.
My name is John, and I have a PC hoarding problem. I just about 3 hours ago, I bought another PC. So, yeah.
Right.
I just like building them. There's something fun about it.
Mm-hmm. I saw somebody, I don't know, again, it was probably a TikTok. It was some kind of video of sort of not consequential, but they were like at a Best Buy and they're like, for like $1,500 you can buy this whole system and it's got a 3080 and it's got this and it's got that and it's got that. And it's like, there are people who are just buying off the shelf things because they have all the hard to get supplies that are also, sort of inflated values right now, or at least inflated sell prices.
Yeah, I'm
or buy
very
prices.
happy that I got a 1660 Super at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to buy like a 20 series or a 30 series graphics card just because it's like, yeah, that's not going to be for me. It's going to be a major power draw, and it's like 1660 Super is more than enough for Minecraft. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been really enjoying playing video games on the 5800 now. So I've had the 5800 for about 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been very good. I have upgraded it numerous times already, so I switched to an AIO for the cooling of the CPU. I've switched out the memory for RGB memory. I've added more fans and quieter fans and stuff, and it's like I've been taking it apart and putting it back together multiple times, and yeah. But then I also have an art PC. Then I have my old PC, which is the 6700K, which is an Intel machine. Then I have my old art PC, which is it's an old AMD PAL driver. I think was a series of the CPU. It's like the one before Ryzen came along. So
Okay.
that was my old art PC, and it still works great. It's hot, warm, but it runs my 3D printer stuff. So whenever I do that, but I've got 4 PCs that are functional in my home. And that's not all. I have 2 other PCs in the home that I got gifted from people that they no longer needed. I was like, okay, I'll spruce them up and I'll take some parts out of it and splice them together and like. Yeah, so my 6700K is going to go to somebody who lost their computer last week, and that case is going to be filled with new Ryzen 7 3700X with a B-Force 570, an X570 motherboard. And it's like, I just bought that 4 hours ago because I know there was going to be a slot. There's going to be an empty space. It's like the same way I handle hamsters is the same way I handle PCs. It's like, oh, I've got a space for a hamster. Let's just get a new hamster.
Right, they multiply. Yeah, I have to curb my habits. It's important. I'm in this mode where I don't feel like I'm seeking, but also, so I'm doing stuff for the Auto Club, and I'm the guy kind of handles the merch or the swag, and if I see a deal for some new merch, I take it so that I can have an abundance of things when I make the swag boxes up. And so there was like another deal for poly mailers, and I was like, hold on, I did this thing for the packaging tape, and I took this idea and I redid the graphic out to be larger, and then I ordered on that deal. I ordered new poly mailers with a new design. So like it's filling like this creative need, but also I'm spending a little money, but it's like supplementing me from going crazy and saying, oh, let's go spend thousands of dollars on a new like it's like I'm sort of hacking myself in a different way, but it's also productive, right? It's an abundance of options for one thing, but also the advantage here is even though I'm spending a little money, I'm building this list of expenses the club's going to have to pay me back anyways. So my money comes back to me eventually once I fill out the expense forms. So that's kind of how I've noticed how I'm handling it. But I'm also doing it to a productive goal. So
yeah, for me, it's mostly the things that I do. Like if I grab something new, I do actually just pass on like hardware to other people. Like for example, phones they get passed on, tablets they get passed on. I just gave my iPad Pro, the 12.9-inch one, to my mother. It's like now she has a tablet with a pencil, so she can draw on it.
I really don't do hand-me-down stuff, and it's not because I think it's an issue, but people are like, oh, I really wish I had this thing. I know when they say that, they're really just saying, oh, Ellen, could you just buy me as my birthday gift this brand new expensive thing? They're not really saying, well, I got this older model that's still good. Here, you could have it. And, and then, it's not the same thing. I know sometimes people are seeking the excitement of new instead of hand me down.
Yeah, but for me, my mom, she is like, uh, she's on benefits, so
Right.
she needs some stuff.
Hmm.
Like her
My
income
mother's
on
just
her own is not much.
so in my case, like the phone I have. Okay, so what I've been noticing lately is on the wireless charging. Like this phone kind of heats up every once in a while, and
That's the
I
Pixel
mean,
Five.
Pixel 5, and I don't know if it's like if charge it with USB, it's not heating up. But also, I've been going to the office and charging wirelessly, and instead of like at home where I always just plug in the USB and put it on this little stand.
Yeah.
So maybe that was just always the thing about the phone that I never knew because I was creating the condition where it was not going to create any kind of heat generation. And I think the Pixel 5 has like this issue where it's not charging anymore, but it doesn't like turn anything, or maybe what I need to do is I need to move it off the. So when I'm at work, I took this extra wireless charger, and what I really should do is just like move it off, take it off the thing, right? And that's the thing, is like it's my stand or where I put the phone. So I need to like get in the behavior of like taking it off, and maybe that's why it heats up. But
Well, wireless charging is always going to cause heat. So, yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's just the thing because I don't normally charge with it all day, right? It's a thing you put in the car temporarily. It's a thing I put on to let my phone just sit all night while I go to sleep. And I'm not really, it's usually not hot then, but I don't know. Um, Point being is that, like, while I could give this phone to my mother, she's never had a cell phone, mobile phone at all. And it's so like, just in general, working a cordless phone, took her decades. Decades. It's a phone, Mom, and it's cordless. We got to put it on the charge stand. Well, it's always dead. Did you put it on the charge stand? That took like a decade to get her to just like properly charge her phones. Right? And then she's like, and she's like, they're all the same. She's like, no, I got to put that upstairs. Like, no, Mom, it's just a phone. Put that in that cradle. You can take that one upstairs. They're not attached to each other. Like, they're just a phone. It doesn't matter. It's not going to ring upstairs versus downstairs. They all ring when they ring at the same time. She's like, oh, I didn't know that. It's just like, so giving her a cell phone is like, it's me just inviting a whole set of different kind of problems. And then I know she's going to not charge it and it's going to be dead. And then, giving her a cell phone is probably more for accessibility factor, not for her to bug me anywhere she feels like, but more of in case of emergency. It's more probably for me. But my mother likes the hot new shiny thing, and if I gave her a hand-me-down, she'd be like giving me crap forever. She wants the new hotness. She wants something that's new.
Well,
like
then you can buy it yourself.
Right, and she can't afford that. Yeah. So the only reason I haven't done stuff like that is because it just invites other kinds of problems that I know are just going to cause more problems for me.
Well, I usually give it to people that actually need it, right? So
right,
my mom has she has one of my old MacBook Pros, like from like 2010, 2012, I think. So yeah, it's really old and it needs to be replaced. And she has now she has an iPad Pro, which is perfectly fine. It's a huge screen. Yeah. So and like for PCs, I usually give away like hardware if it's still usable. Now with Windows 11, that's going to be a problem because not everybody's going to want a PC that can run Windows 10. Because it's not going to be able to run Windows 11 because it doesn't have a TPM module or something.
The same problem, which is I have a lot of gear here just sitting here that like I haven't had a plan on how I get rid of shit. And I think once I do it and I learn from it and it's successful, then it's like a non-issue, for me.
Yeah,
and I just have to kind of do
watch
that.
out if you do sell stuff. That's going to be people
I never sell stuff. I'm gonna like call up the place that here in the U.S. that charges you for how much junk you give them, and they'll take it away, and they'll handle dealing with the recycling, and the batteries and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not like I can't afford it. I just have to like have a moment where I stop and like I'm staring at my old TiVo. It's just sitting there. What am I doing with it? Nothing. It's powered off. It's just sitting there collecting dust. And I down here, I'm only here in this space recording, and that's all I do down here. And I'm never down here any other time. Other than maybe stuff I put on the rack, like I needed to get some packaging tape. I came down here. That's where I store it. So things like that. Outside of that, there's just lots of gear I just need to get rid of, which then adds into that.
You still have those servers in your basement?
I still do, yeah.
So you are a PC hoarder.
Well, but so those servers really never really had any usefulness. The only usefulness is they are good. They are the sandbags for that flimsy IKEA thing where other stuff's on top of it. It's like the sturdy part of makes that table super sturdy, right? Because of all the dead weight at the bottom of it. Mm. That's all they do. So the place I'll do is I'll call 1-800-JUNK and I will give them that. I'll give them all this other stuff. I'll make sure I pull some hard drives out. I'll give them all the dead docks. And then, I'll go through and this is all like in the effort of before I could personally feel like I'm ready to just move. I got to do all that stuff. Get rid of that old TiVo. I might as well just I'm not using my surround system. It's probably still good. I just going to get rid of it.
That's the moment, right? Like, well, that's probably still good.
Yeah, but no, I haven't used it. See, this is the therapy exercise that I went through when I moved from the last house. I lived there for about 12 years, and I had that sort of room, that storage room where it had all the boxes in it. And it's like, what the hell? You know what? Some of those good computer boxes were great when I moved. I needed to put sturdy, heavy stuff in them. They were fantastic. But then what I did is I put them to the curb, right, when I got here. And neighbors snatched them up, which is great. But they served the one purpose, but I hung on them for 12 years. Why? Why was I doing that? No good reason. And so I had the hindsight of saying, I used this twice in 12 years. How many days and hours is that? And I go, okay, I'm learning my lesson. Don't bring this stuff with me. Trash it. And then Matt and Andrew and like other people were just like helping me clean up the basement. And they're like, oh, but that has value. Oh, but I'm like, you guys can take it, but I don't want to ever see it come back. I said, otherwise I'm putting it out in the trash. It's like, I lived here 12 years. I used it 3 times. I don't know why I was holding on to it. It was a waste of holding on to that. It's like it served its purpose. I used it, and now it doesn't serve a purpose anymore, and I'm not carrying this baggage with me. And they're like, oh, I guess you made a good point. Never thought of it. And I put it out, and then literally someone's driving by, and already people are out there pilfering. You see the flashers on the car, and they're like, oh, look at that stuff. And, good for other people to take, but like, got to get rid of it, right? Like, I don't know why
they can stack it on top of their hoards of stuff,
and that's fine. That's on them. But to that point is like I went through this therapy exercise where I could look at it and I realized that my wanting to fill in the perimeter with stuff was only about something psychological.
Do you keep the boxes for stuff?
I generally don't, but there are a couple cases where I do with the thought that that's how I will move stuff when I move, right? So, like, I have this mixer board here, and I don't want to ruin this thing. But, like, I know me. I'm not going to be moving across 2 states or something. I'm going to probably do the thing I did last time, right? I literally moved 2 miles away. So when I do that, it's probably some combination of the big stuff will go into a truck, that will get moved, and then there will be me taking like 15 or 20 trips, piling it up into my car very safely, moving the gear. And when it hit COVID time, I was like going in through my buckets of my totes of cables. And I was just threw the cable in there. And then eventually, what I did here, you can't really see it, but I got the sound blankets and I covered all the microphones up in the area just so that, humidity or dust or whatever doesn't build up. But what I did is on the side area of tables is I literally set out these XLR cables. Oh, XLR, here's the adapter. Oh, here's these, phono cables. Oh, here's the quarter poles. And I literally made my piles so that when I was redoing upstairs, I came down here and I went to my sort of pile that was an organized pile as, I need an XLR cable. I needed that length. Okay, good. Got it. And so I'm using this area as like a staging area of stuff. But I'm staring at a bunch of boxes in the distance. And that's like the things that the PC came in that has some accessories and bits in it. And like, I just need to take that out, put that in its own tote, make that movable, and then I can just collapse the boxes and put them out with the trash.
Well, I still have the boxes for the cases of all these PCs, but they have like they have like the box for the motherboard, the box for the coolers and stuff like that. They're all inside the box for the PC. So I put them in the basement last week or week before. I cleaned up so much space. So nice.
Yeah, so I just definitely need to get a couple totes for that stuff. And that's like a small exercise. About maybe 80% of the time, maybe not even. Maybe about 95% of the time, I will not keep the box. I literally collapse it when I unpack the thing in the kitchen. Like, I don't need this or that, right? There are some cases where I want to keep a couple things.
Well, you're most of the time not building a PC, right? So you don't have the motherboard box or something like that, right? It comes in its own little bag of components that they didn't put in the box itself, right?
Right.
So there's like, for me, it's because I have those components and I might need to either send them back because there's a problem with it, or that's why I keep the boxes. But then they stay there for 5 years.
So one of the things I did is when I was working more actively on the film, I bought a jewelry bag. The problem is those things are really flimsy. They're great for holding jewelry and when you're traveling, whatever it is, but they're not like well built. Like they're plastic, they can tear, or the zippers.
What did you buy them for?
Well, I bought them to put all the little USB cables, and I put duct tape on the outside of the plastic zipper pocket, and so that I know that micro to, mini, or USB-C to A, and I organized all that stuff for me so that when I could carry that stuff to Otakon, set up the interview site, and I could go to that pocket and pull the things I needed and make sure I put them back in there. And then what I did is during last year, because the thing was kind of flimsy, even though I could fold it up and put it into one of the duffel bags, for travel, what I did is I bought art boxes. So I went over, there's a Container Store near me, and I went over there, and they're expensive to buy, but they're really durable and they stack. And I bought these art boxes that have these little pieces in it, like these little, I don't know, tackle box, little movable, removable.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it, section off little pieces you plug in, and I wrap up and I do all that. So every time I'm like, this is where the micro, the mini are. These are where the odd cables are. This is where all the USB-C cables are. And so I could just find the art box, pop it out, get the cable I need, and make sure I put it back in. The only thing I didn't do is a version of this for batteries. I have a particular thing I can carry. It literally has all the batteries, though I haven't charged them all recently, that are meant for lights and for, all the portable gear and all that stuff. And so I started to organize a little bit. But, what I learned out of that experience is I got like a cart, and the cart I put Pelican cases, and in the Pelican cases have a bunch of this stuff that's like the microphones, a bunch of things like the Ninja, the Atomus, whatever, Ninja 5, and a bunch of like where the camera gears and some lenses go in and all that stuff. But then I started to put these art boxes because I know I can stack them and they will stay on, where the other stuff where I like bungee cord everything down as I'm moving through, from the hotel through the convention. There's lots of bumps, there's lots of this, there's lots of that. Even though the ground is level and it's like, it's tiled or whatever it is, or it's carpeted, even though it's very even, it's still the whole experience. Things want to fall off, or they want to, because something gets sort of oscillated and I just need things that are rigid and stack. And so I started to organize this way, and I started to do that for some of my photo mounts and things. And one of those, another art box where I could do that. And I had these little
containers. Do you have like a specific brand that you bought? Because what I did, nope. I have something called...
Because I know that Sortimo is really awesome. I also know they're super expensive.
I have from the brand Stanley.
Okay, yeah, I know Stanley.
Fat Max. I have a bunch of them for all the electronic stuff. So for all the Arduino and the LEDs and stuff like that, I have them all like stacked on top of each other. With like at the bottom, there's like a couple of boxes full of servo motors and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It's like I have them on a trolley on like a little cart with the wheels that spin. Like they rotate, so you can easily just move it out of the makerspace and take it somewhere, and then ride it all the way there.
And so like, I don't have a place where I have my own workshop, right? I would build an environment where it's sort of the studio environment, where it's like, this recording gear set up and maybe a video site, though I'm not the person to be on camera. And, definitely have, I have some shelves over here that have a lot of stuff, but the problem is there's a lot of these, like most of this photo gear, filming gear, it doesn't like fit into an easy container or a tote, right? It like fits in an oblong way in the tote, and you kind of find a way to Tetris stack them in a certain way. Like they eat up a lot of space, that kind of thing. So like just putting them on a shelf was my starting point to organize. But so for me to buy those art boxes was a starting point. I know at some point, I know it's working for me, and I know it's working really well, and it helped solve and serve a particular problem, and I know that I need to get, figure that solution out a little better. So yes, I hoard in those kinds of things, but I use those tools. I just don't use them 90% of my year. I use them at very surgical moments of my year, which just goes back to my need for the laptop. It used to be the thing I used all the time, and now that I'm not using it all the time, it's sort of just atrophying on its own. But with that said, I'm not hoarding. I just have a pile of stuff that I know I need to get rid of. But like I think about now, I'll have 4 laptops that are my current laptop, which is sort of problematic right now. If I replaced the battery, it would be functional. It would be fully functional again. It just wouldn't be modern, right? Then I have the previous laptop, which is still very functional. Use it for the Artemis stuff when we had Artemis. I made it as the primary server.
The before times.
And I could still use it as a laptop, I suppose, but it's just been sitting there powered for years at this point. But again, it's functional for things. But again, I don't really have a need for it. I just really should just factory reset it. Could it be a good hand-me-down for somebody? Yeah, but the problem is it's not modern. So it deserves just to be put in that stack of things to dispose of appropriately. And then I have the previous laptop, which is not modern, not useful for anybody. If you could be incredibly patient, maybe you could get it to do stuff. Maybe you could put an SSD in it. Yes, maybe you could do that. Maybe you could do that. Nope, it's worth just factory resetting and just putting it in the pile of to dispose of appropriately. And so like in my world, it's like, it's not that I use and I'm done. It's that I use something well beyond its means and its capacity to be what I need, in current times. And most of the people around me are sort of, they're very high maintenance for tech when it comes to technology. They want the new hotness. They don't want the old hotness.
Speaking of the new hotness,
I
bought a new phone.
Yeah,
I have the Oneplus 9 Pro.
Okay.
It has
Good, bad.
It has 5G.
Yeah. You have 5G now.
I also have 5G now because I got the second dose of the vaccine. That kicked my butt, by the way. That
Did it really?
second dose, yeah, that hurt like hell. Like, it didn't hurt like at the start of the day. Like, I got it at like 8 a.m. So I was like one of the first in line. So, but like the during the day it started to hurt, and then I started feeling a little bit queasy, and then during the next couple of days I was like, oh, I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep for like 3 days. I was tired. I was so tired at the end. Well, I did go to bed. I just didn't sleep because every time I rolled over, it hurt because there was like the arm hurt so much. So that kind of sucked. But like, I do like the Oneplus. It is a nice phone. The only thing I have about it is that whenever, apparently I updated it, so it asked for an update, and then it rebooted, and it rebooted into recovery mode. So I had to fill in a passcode or like a decryption code, which I had no idea what it was because I don't know. I never filled in an encryption code, so like it was just my PIN code. But like nobody is going to understand that. Like no normal user is going to understand that. So there were people on Twitter complaining about how they wiped their phones because there was an update. It just boots it into that thing, and then all I had to do was just log in, reboot the phone, and then it just finished the update. But that's a big problem. This is why I'm never going to recommend a OnePlus phone to anybody ever, because it's if you're not technical, if you don't understand what's happening, this is going to be a disaster because all your stuff is on there. Everything is gone if you press the button that says, "Oh, you forgot your password. Click here," and then it says, "Oh, we'll wipe everything on your phone." And people did that. I'm like, that's bad design. Either you did a quality assurance thing, or there was something else happening. But that's a bad plan. So yeah, I'm not happy about that OnePlus. I did get a skin from D-Brand, so I didn't use a discount code. Maybe I should have. I didn't see any.
There's an abundance of them
or,
online.
I didn't see any recent podcasters or videos with D-Brand skin.
Here's the irony. I actually installed the Honey plugin, and it actually is really useful a lot of the time. Every once in a while,
we're not giving them sponsorship here. They're not sponsoring anything here.
They're not.
Just
saying. But I do save money. Yeah, it's not like I'm saving money. It just means that I have the coupon code that gives me credit, and if they can't find one in the list, they have their own. So it's been actually surprisingly useful. And it's it's not very intrusive.
I just wouldn't want to install that. I just can't.
No, I understand. For me, it was sort of not an issue. So, but also curbing my habits is making sure I'm not buying too much stuff in Amazon. Only what I need. Because that's too easy. Yeah, it's just too easy. It's too easy. Yeah. Well, I look every time I talk about. Here in the U.S., cell carriers plus phones, and plus people who make the phones, Android, whatever, Apple, it doesn't matter. It's just this perfect storm of nightmare all the time, right? If the carrier isn't imposing some kind of stuff that's causing the nightmare, that's one thing. And if it isn't the brand that makes the phone, that makes a really good piece of hardware, but they have to have their flavor of Android, which is like insipid, and it doesn't add value. It's not like, oh, we tweaked out our camera in a way, we added this new feature. Very rarely is that the case, and it adds nothing but like kind of problems like you're talking about.
Well, the thing is that like the Samsungs and stuff like that, Samsung is their UI is just garbage.
UI is garbage,
and they install all sorts of crap that you can't remove.
Yeah,
I think the OnePlus so far is actually pretty good. I really like
Mm-hmm.
it. It's like similar to the experience I had with the Nokia phones.
Yeah.
It's like it's very close to stock Android. Now OnePlus does do some stuff, but they do it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the fact that they installed their own store. They have a OnePlus store, and I don't know
Yeah,
what they
I know
sell.
there's money to be
But
made there,
the
but
cool
like,
thing
let's
is,
just
you can uninstall it. But it
right.
comes with every single new update. It installs again.
So, I mean, when it comes down to this, it's if you could get to stock Android, that is probably the best thing you can do. But most people can't get there. And then you look at the vendor, and it becomes two questions. And they're making some good piece of hardware. And then the second thing is, how offensive is their version of Android? And they're the ones that are the least offensive or the least worst at it. Imposing their own stuff on you, are the ones who win out in this argument.
Well,
But most people go to the brands that they know, right? They'll go to the Samsung, and Samsung is not great about it. They install their own pay thing, and they install their own store thing,
oh
and
yeah, and they
maybe
sync everything to their own cloud
yeah,
without
and
asking
so
you.
right, and which
I'm still
causes
getting emails
I've
from
lost.
Samsung about that, by the way. Still getting them. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we moved. I haven't had a Samsung phone in 2 years.
yeah,
Go away.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So this becomes a problem if they are the dominant way of doing things. Let's say more where the origin of the company is, like in Korea, totally makes sense. But here in the U.S., uh, just let it go. Just let us assign what that extra button goes to. I don't want your Bixby. I don't want your whatever. And it's sad because they make really good hardware, and all this other unnecessariness
Like,
is like, let me choose your camera. Don't install it. Don't install carrier bloat with NFL and stocks and games that I don't want, that are eating up my space on the ROM.
do
Like,
you
I don't want that stuff.
do you
I don't
remember
even want to
that
see it.
Sprint phone we got from Google I/O that one year?
Mm-hmm.
The one
Yeah.
with the 3D stuff
Oh, right.
for
Yeah.
ACC.
It's probably sitting in the room here in a box
Yeah,
that I
I
haven't.
still have it somewhere. It's like
Yeah.
it's
The HEC one. Yeah.
so garbage, and it was completely unusable after I went back to Europe. So, you know,
Right.
but the
So it's like there's an easy problem to solve here, and the problem is everyone's put their greed and neediness in there because they get their little cut of how things are done, and so like it's a big problem here, definitely in the U.S. It's just sad. It's beyond sad, but also a lot of money is being made this sort of chaotic mess of the way things are done, and people are just putting up with it. Okay, so then I get a Google phone, and everything is just flat out simple. Here's your
well,
phone,
there's one thing though. There is like
and here's
you
your
mentioned
service.
Bixby.
Choose your service, and it's stock, and none of that extra stuff is there.
You mentioned Bixby, but like there's no way for you to turn off. You can turn off the button, the
Hmm.
assistant button, but you cannot reassign it to another function.
No, and that's irritating.
But that's also on the the Android One phones as well. I think it's on the Pixel as well.
Really?
You can just turn it off.
What
You cannot reassign
you
it.
can turn off the assistant. You
Yeah,
can just
but then
turn
you
it
have
off altogether.
a dead button. It doesn't do anything.
Oh, I don't have a physical button for the assistant.
Oh, but on the Nokias I had, there was a physical button.
Oh, okay. So in the definitely in the Pixel phone, no physical button. There's the volume and there's power, and that is it. And then you have in stock Android, definitely in the latest, is you got options for the whether you want those sort of always on screen buttons, or whether you want the slim sort of where you sort of bring it up and you do the gestures. And it's been that way for me in my world for years, right? Those are my options. I can configure it how I want it. That's stock Android. This isn't the flavor of some carrier's
Well,
version
you
or
can turn it
manufacturer
off,
version.
but like it's only an assistant button. That's what it's for. I don't think I have an assistant button on this phone.
And you got to keep in mind that like I don't use one assistant. I use them all kind of differently. So I don't say, hey, insert, wake word. What I do is in the house, I use the Amazon for the echoes for time, weather, and the clear out notifications, or like where's my stuff if I know I'm looking for. I just want to sort of a heartbeat on, oh, that's coming in a few days, that kind of thing, just to sort of remind myself. Occasionally I'll say what's on my schedule, but like those are generically useful for me walking about in the house, so I don't have to be looking at stuff and be looking it up. Or I want to turn lights on and stuff like that. I'm not using Google for that.
But are you using like your phone for that, or is like different devices?
Every once in a while I'll ask, like on the phone, I'll ask it for something that I know that Google is going to give a much better response. If I want something that's informational, if I want to know what are the U.S. holidays, I want to know a particular definition of something. The Amazon Echoes will do a pretty good job, but Google is always better at these things, right? But if I was, the problem here was that Amazon has all these integrations, and they're fantastic with the hardware. They have all these integrations to a bunch of services and software. It's fantastic. Google just never got there. They didn't start there. They didn't build those rapports. They didn't build those partnerships. They have integrations that are just about as equivalent or easy, but and they're much smarter, but they're just not nearly as comprehensive.
I have the Hue,
and not as
the Hue
abundant
stuff
either.
hooked up to my Google stuff, but that's about it. I don't have any other.
So for me, I basically got conditioned to one kind of assistant, and I use it in a very minor way. I don't use it to buy stuff. I don't use it to put stuff on my shopping list to manage my to-do when I'm out.
You don't have a get toilet paper now button?
Nope, not at all. I don't, and so that's not how those assistants serve me. But to the point, this stock Android, you just have the control. There's no layers of abstraction than the manufacturer version of it, and that's kind of what the commentary was about it. So every time I hear you or other people have these complications, I was just like, yeah, I used to have that problem, and I used to hate it too, and I used to be, grumpy about it as well. And
are you gonna get the Pixel 6?
I don't know if I love the back end camera bar.
I haven't actually seen anything about it. It's just I know that
I've seen this big sort of honking camera bar in the back, but in the same respect, probably, because one of the things is the Pixel 5 was a little bit smaller, and my fingers aren't big, but the keyboard's a little too small because I end up like hitting the word that is to the right or to the left, even though I'm targeting on the right spot. And it's not because the keyboard, it's just because I am conditioned to multiple years of a slightly bigger device. So if I was to do that, I know that they have two of them. One's like 6.7, one's 6.4. I think I probably get the 6.4. I think what I'm rocking right now is like 6.1, 6.2 or something. And you wouldn't think that'd make a difference, but to me it makes a difference. I don't know that I need super big.
I keep switching between the iPhone SE and the OnePlus. And the OnePlus is so much bigger compared to the let me just show you. It's just
I think I had before the Pixel 2, I think was 6.5.
This is the iPhone. This is the OnePlus. Now, if you look at the size difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge difference. And so for me, I think the physical form factor is kind of important to me. Do I need to replace the device? No, not really. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, I have to have the new hotness. I don't need to have the new hotness.
But you're going to buy it anyway.
I will probably buy it because of the camera, the value add there. I end up not bringing or disconnecting my 6400 for all things. Now, I will literally, when I have these events, I'll just take a couple of pictures with my phone because that's all I need. It's not like I'm doing a photo shoot. If I'm doing a photo shoot, I will unrig my A6400, or knowing me, I will probably buy something new or another A64 or maybe the 6600 or something for me to do as the filming camera out in the field. And also for when I get back to doing in-person interviewing, I want to have a reliable second camera.
Did
A
you
camera and B
did you see
camera.
the Steam Deck stuff? Did you reserve a spot?
I didn't.
Oh,
I don't know.
Actually, I think maybe a Steam Deck could be a good replacement for a laptop.
But so you're talking about it with respect to gaming. I
No,
need
no, no, not
something.
not just gaming, because like from its specs, it's actually a nice development machine. I could develop on
Mhm.
that. It's Linux. I can just install PHP and stuff on it, and then it'll just work. I can develop my stuff on the go instead of having
Yeah,
to drag a laptop everywhere.
I kind of want and of course, if I go buy a beefy laptop and I don't use it often. So for me to spend the money on a beefy Ultrabook or to add all these, premium accessories to make it even more beefy was because it was my one thing. It wasn't my supplemental thing. It wasn't like my little iPad. It's like, no. It wasn't that at all. It was my everything.
So if
And
you're gonna buy a laptop now, you're gonna go for something simpler. But then
maybe
no, because
not,
you're
but
gonna buy that Asus one with the two screens.
yeah, because when I'm at an Otakon for a weekend, I need to be able to have high speed, and I need to be able to pull in gigs, nearly terabytes worth of stuff into it, and I need to be able to review 4K footage. And if let's say maybe the next camera isn't an A6600, right? Maybe it's something even maybe I buy one of the Blackmagic cameras, Pocket Cinema cameras.
They're red.
Maybe I get a 6K camera, and so I need something that can keep up with me, even for review, because it's fundamentally a timing thing. Like I want to be able, like I have it right now. I turn the board on, turn some gear on. It takes 5 seconds. Things are warmed up. I go turn the PC on. In 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds, it's up. I'm running. We're communicating. I'm hitting recording buttons.
Yeah.
Like I need that level of ease and reliability, and you don't get that when you start making compromises or something that's, well, I don't really need that. It's not because like someone looks and they go, oh, that's a great gaming laptop. No, you should not be spending $3,000 for gaming unless that is your job and you're a streamer and that's how you make your money. Like I totally get that, but for me, that's not my purpose. My purpose is a certain kind of utility, and I need that level of quality and speed and efficiency when I need it. And I need it in not a really complicated way where I carry 9 panels and I stick them to the side of the monitor and then they kind of half work and they're kind of
I don't think the Steam Deck is
chunky.
gonna work for you, but like for me, it might actually be a good like
Yeah, maybe for you, just
alternative
for me,
like.
just not the thing.
Mhm.
It's just not the thing for me.
I like the concept of like the Nintendo Switch.
Mhm.
Like I really like how that is, and if they had like a Steam connection option, so I could stream from my game PC, which is totally badass and really good, and then just do it on the Nintendo Switch, that would be amazing. And then I know that there's like you can hack your Switch and like put some homebrew stuff on it, and that
Yeah, but it's not
works.
the same thing.
No,
No.
it's not the same thing. So
No.
I did reserve a spot. Went for the middle model, not the totally super expensive one, but like the $500 one, like
Mhm.
the with the SSD in it. And there's a friend, and you know who this is, who also who's also reserved the same model. He's like, yeah, it could also be like a good. He was looking at the Pine phone, which is like a
Mhm.
Linux phone.
Right.
It's supposed
Yeah.
to be like, and you could like dock it and it'll become a desktop machine basically. And I like that concept of like having a game machine that I could also just hook up and just do some serious stuff on, like put it in a dock, and suddenly it's a desktop machine.
If your programming paradigm is very lightweight, that makes a lot of sense. But if you're gonna like thinking you're gonna go start building video games, okay, so I don't know about. I assume it's available in Linux, but like Unreal Engine and build some kind of game on a Pine phone or something like that. No,
well, it's not going to be on a
Steam
Pine phone,
Deck,
but like
it won't
the
work.
Steam Deck has its own graphics card. Well, not a graphics card.
Sure,
It's like it
but
has
I don't
its,
know that unless you attach it to a bunch of big monitors, and you can do that.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
can do
know. I don't know
that.
how.
It has 4K
Well, I guess
60,
the
I
Steam.
think.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it would work on the right kind of hardware.
And if
Probably
I'm
not
wrong,
on the
just
go.
correct me. But like, it looks like it looks like a nice like stuff on the go. It might be what I would take on vacation and then not take anything else. Like that would be my
I
my
guess I look
laptop
at
for
it
on the go.
from this perspective because I brought up like video editing. This is a great playback device. It's probably not a wonderful editor.
Well, of course, it's run Linux, so I can't really do anything with like Adobe on it
Okay,
because Adobe
but
doesn't run on Linux.
I'm using that metaphor, right? The editor has to be a great playback device, but it also has to have at least 80% more functionality, which requires more hardware or better hardware above that level, above the ability to play back smoothly and well and perform well in that kind of well. But it also needs to be able to disassemble and reassemble, and it needs a level of resources that are well above and beyond a playback device. And so so for me, when I look at it from that perspective, I'm like, okay, what's the utility of the hardware? If it's a good playback device, is it a good gaming laptop? That's fine. But I need something where I can not only make the stuff, but I could, I need that workshop with me, not the place where I put my furniture.
So the thing is, it's just a PC. It's basically just a PC with a screen on it. It's basically a laptop without the keyboard, right?
Yeah, I'm not knocking any of it. I think this is probably, from innovation and a technology standard, very good. Yeah. Right? Good things will come from this, especially if it's popular and people will learn from that and they'll iterate on it.
I think that the charging port being on the top is a problem, and then I think it has 2 USB-Cs. I don't know, but like you're gonna run into like bandwidth problems with like the USB connections. So if you want to use it for anything else than gaming, it's gonna be you have to attach a dongle, and they're coming up with their own dongle, but like they do support all sorts of other dongles, so that's good. But like importing data, importing stuff through that one port is going to be a bit of a hassle. So I don't think that's a good plan for you to do a Steam Deck with with all that video editing stuff. Because the screen is like it's like 12 something by 800, so it's not a great big screen.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just really happy that, and it's also going to be able to do like this the Steam streaming stuff, so you can do like you can play it on your big beefy gaming PC and then play it from your bed because you have the thing with you. Yeah, I kind of like it. I saw a video from Linus Tech Tips where they had where they put the switch underneath it, like it could just fit in between the side controllers. So I was like, oh humongous. Man, that's one big thingy.
Big device.
I remember, by the way, I remember seeing something similar to this.
Well, there's
Dell,
a bunch of
in like during one of those Google I/Os. I think it was when you were there too.
Oh yeah, so Dell always has a bunch of devices they try out, but like their goal is not to appeal to gamers and consumers. It's more of certain kinds of industry that need some stuff in the field, and they need a device that's like that actually could be really good utility. So like Microsoft's going to be making similar hardware, but it's not meant for you and me. It's meant for those cases where they need a device that's portable like that could be not to play games, but like in automotive or in certain kinds of level of industry right down in the field. And so it's that kind of thing where they need a similar device, right? And so while well, you see online as tech tips, like you see there's a GPT, there was IMO or something. I think that
Didn't
was
you
another
like
one.
have one of those GPT thingies? Like you have like two of the
GPT
mini
had
PCs.
something similar. They always make sort of a pseudo
But
where
didn't you
they try
like
to.
buy two of those small ones?
Oh, I bought some micro things. They started with G. They were not GPTs.
Are you sure?
Um, Probably GPT rebranded them later. But no, this was a Kickstarter. This was this own group where they were trying to become like a GPT on their own, and they are. They have exceeded that. I forget the name of the company.
Yeah, but you use them
Um,
for like I think you use them
for
for Artemis.
Artemis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, those are things where like I bought them for a very particular purpose. They serve their purpose. They're kind of like turning them on is slow. You got to wait like 30, 40 minutes, make sure they get all their updates. And I was just like, yeah, and that's the kind of hardware I'm just going to dump, right? When I put my pile together and I call the place up, I'm like, here's a bunch of servers, here's a bunch of docks, here's a bunch of things. I'm literally going to pile a bunch of crap for them in front of the house. And like this is going to be that large effort to like just sort of clean slate so that I can eventually get myself in a very comfortable position to move,
Hmm.
buy a house and move. Um, yeah, a goal. It's gonna bug me, but it's something. It started with a G. Uh,
Did you play any new games?
no, I really haven't. I have been lately. The sort of the comfort thing is I've been sort of grinding and doing things in our Minecraft server. Or your Minecraft server is really what I would say. So me and Mevi are just the only ones who are there. Um, and yeah, that's what I've been doing. Just
Yeah,
been grinding.
I've been I got that new PC in February, and I haven't
Mm-hmm.
actually played any new games on it. So I got it was the Steam Summer Sale,
Mm-hmm.
and I bought two games, Doom Eternal and Horizon Zero Dawn. I returned to Doom Eternal because it required me to make an account with Bethesda, and I was like, nope.
Mm-hmm.
And I played Horizon Zero Dawn. I've got like 80 hours in it, and I finished it. I nearly 100%ed it, and I loved that game. Horizon Zero Dawn is like one of the best games I've played. I really like it. There were some parts in it where it's like it felt a little bit empty, but like that's you know kind of makes sense in the world. But it's like the game mechanics are good. It looked good. The only problem is that at like after like an hour it would crash. It stopped using the audio stopped working and then it crashed. So that does happen once in a while. That was kind of annoying, but like it usually happened with like when there was like a cutscene, but the cutscene is in game, so the audio for the voices were loaded, and that caused some sort of bug, and that crashed the game. Then it locked up the entire machine.
I heard
So,
something about the beta game for Amazon from Amazon.
oh yeah, it was burning video cards. Yeah,
Yeah, the people on 3090s,
yeah, yeah,
EVGA.
but
I
not
think
just
that's what it was.
3090s, also other video cards.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that seems like a. I'm not gonna bother with that. Just Amazon, I don't really care about. Amazon
I
is
know
not my
that some
friend.
people are going to be pissed at me that I have a pretty high quality card that can play all these great video games, and they're like, "Why does he have one and I don't have one?" But the reality is, I use it for tooling purposes. I don't use it for entertainment purposes
Yeah,
as
I would
much.
really like to get another 1660 for my art PC.
Mm-hmm.
It currently has a 1060 in it,
Yeah.
and it's perfectly fine for the stuff I do with it. But I would like to use some Blender stuff, and then
Mm.
something like a 3060 or 3070 or 80 or 90 even would be very nice for that. But I think that if I would put a 3090 in this art PC,
Overkill.
I think smoke would start to appear out of every single hole there is in that
Oh
machine.
well, you don't have the cooling solution in play.
I think it's also won't fit because I think the case is too small.
Right. No, I mean, I popped up the 3080 for something to check how I would get to the NVMe, which I never put into the backplate. I never, because I just sort of set up my system, and surprisingly everything is working great over that Gen 4, USB. So like for me, just doing it in the external or even over the Samsung T5, it's been fine. Editing is like not even a concern. Nothing. Just works. Plug it in. Oh, that's where my files are. Great. Edit to death. Torture it. It's like yawning at me. That's the great value of the system. It's so powerful right now. It's just like yawning at me. It's like, that's all you got?
Yeah. That's the upstairs machine, right?
Yeah, that's the upstairs machine. So like,
what brand was that again?
Hmm?
What brand was that again?
Oh, I bought that main gear.
Main gear, yeah.
I had a custom built main gear. So and at the time, that was the only way you were going to get things. And turns out what they built's pretty good. So, but my point was I popped out the 3080 and the thing is beastly. I mean, just physically, fins alone, I mean, you could kill somebody with that. You just blunt to the head.
Well, it's like
trauma.
I think it's like 90% just the cooler, right?
Yeah.
The board itself is very tiny.
Yeah. So it's just those things and the 3090 is even bigger. So
yep.
So they're big. They're chunky.
Chunky boys.
Yeah.
I did end up putting an AIO in my game PC. I had that giant big ass Dark Rock from Be Quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so big it barely cleared the memory, and then it stopped me from taking memory out or doing anything in that vicinity around the CPU, which is where you route wires and stuff. So I eventually just got an AIO from Arctic, and I think it's a German company, but their cooler is pretty good. I have a Liquid Freezer 280. It's a radiator with a pump and stuff attached to the CPU block. I think you have a similar setup, but like for different.
Yeah, but the one thing I have is the Cool Master, and it's all fan based. There's no liquid in it.
Yes, you do.
Like nothing.
You have a liquid cooler. I'm pretty sure you have a liquid cooler. I've seen the photos. Yes.
I have a radiator at the top.
Mm-hmm. That's an AI.
Okay, so it definitely gets hot at the top of events. So what I did is I have these Havit, HAVIT, these thin things that would help cool down the laptop because the laptop would get hot, especially when it was running even the eGPU. It'd still get hot just being on. Even the work one, my last work, where the laptop was like, I don't know, like some kind of Ultrabook or something that, again, it basically stayed dock. I just clicked on a button, powered it, took over monitors and, and stuff like that. I literally wedged one of these thin $30, which has these three, I think, Noctua fans basically built in. It would just cool the thing and it would handle that problem and it would be sort of a non-issue. But they're super quiet. So I didn't need it for my existing laptop, right? And I didn't need it for the second one I bought. And I have one down here, you can hear, which is where this laptop used to sit, but it's now just sort of, when I needed to put it in a bag, I just put it in the laptop bag. I'm not taking it back out. And I don't use it down here in the studio, and I don't depend on it anymore, so that's the other advantage. So I have a third one of these. So I took the two laptop fan things, I stacked them on top of the radiator, and I turned them both on. And what it does is it fans off that hot air, and it cools off the hot air as it comes out of the system. And it's super quiet. And again, it was like the dumbest thing, but it makes the PC like not throttle often. Surprisingly. So
okay.
I just sort of stacked them on top of it. I just put stuff on it, so I'm not putting stuff on top of the radiator. And it's just great. It works out wonderful.
Mm-hmm. This sounds so janky.
It does. Does your
PC throttle a lot?
No. When it does, if I'm doing something super intensive, it will throttle for all of like 5 seconds, and then it doesn't. You hear it spin up, and it gets its boost, and it does that for a few seconds, and then it comes down and it's done.
So what I've noticed is with the AIOs is that for some reason it takes a little while for the fans to actually have an effect on the temperature. So if it boosts your clocks on the CPU, it's going to produce more heat. So it will make it make the water hotter as well, right? So, but it's going to take a while for that water to be taken away and be cooled by the radiator. And if it's an AIO, it's going to take that information from that slot. So basically what you want is the radiator being cooled more before it starts getting hot. So you might want to run your CPU cooler fan a little bit harder than it's running right now. And if you want to get rid of the noise that it produces, like it's fine for those fans to run at like 80% speed or 100% speed even. Like if they break, you just replace them. But like get some Noctua fans or something. Like something with
it's
higher...
pretty quiet, except for that moment where it bursts up and you hear it for a few seconds.
Yeah, so
it's
if
very
you
quiet.
want to run those, fans a little bit faster than you would normally do. Just to get more cooling capacity, like make the liquid in the loop cooler than so it can catch more of those spikes. Like currently my CPU is at 30, and we're doing stuff on here, and it's running at 10% CPU or something, so it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, most of the time the thing, as I said, just using that stupid description, it's like yawning at me. I have like a couple rain meter, skins, basically gadgets, sitting on the desktop. They're sitting there just showing me where RAM's at and CPU's at, and it's mostly low numbers all the time. Yeah, same thing with RAM, and I didn't put a lot of RAM in it. I only put 32.
Does the machine have like a side panel with like a glass side panel or something?
It does, but it's on the side where I don't see it.
Yeah.
I don't really give a crap about the RGB stuff. Right, the only thing I care about is like my keyboards being illuminated.
I just hate the fact that the software for this, like for example, the Gigabyte software for the RGB stuff, it's so fucking crap. Every single time it breaks. Whenever I reboot, it just stops doing the RGB on the memory.
I don't care about that stuff.
I set up a design for it, and it just doesn't do it.
The PC sits to the left of me. I don't even see that side of it, really. Even in this one down here, it sits underneath this table, and it's up near against the wall, and the panel side is literally pointing at the wall, and I can see the glow off the wall if I look underneath the desk. But outside of that, I don't see it. I don't really care. And it's one of those things where I set it up and I make it simple and make it static, so I don't have this glowing whatever pulsing doing something, or on the main gear, I don't even know what I set it to a static color, or I let it just do its glow of cycle through whatever. Same thing on my mouse. Just whatever. It's just like I hold it to a color. It's like, yeah, it's good enough, and I'm done. Like I don't need my mouse pad doing weird things. I don't need my whole. Just don't need it. It's not for me. It's just like let it be one thing, and that's good enough. The software on my desktop, whatever it is, Aurora or something like, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I have a Gigabyte motherboard then. Anyway, so I have a Ducky keyboard. All I have set up, I have the WASD. I have that lit up for like that's the colors, and I have a separate mapping for my Mac because I have like a USB switch in between, so I can switch between the two machines. And I have a separate layout for that, but like I don't do the RGB rainbow stuff. I just want it to set to like a specific. These are the colors. That's fine. Looks nice, and then I'm done with it. I don't want the flashy stuff happening. But for some reason, my memory in this thing, every single reboot, it just switches back to that until I start the software. But the other lights are fine. There needs to be like an open source RGB for every single motherboard type that just does this. Like, instead of every motherboard company doing their own thing, like, I hate the Gigabyte software because every single time I open it, it takes like 3 minutes to load, and then you can now adjust the fan speed, but you have to open up this app first. And then there's like every single update from Windows, it breaks. And then you have to go update the software, but you have to use their updater. And in that updater, every time you click on update, it tries to fucking install Norton antivirus. Go away!
I know.
And all
it's
sorts of other crap.
Trying
and
to
it's like,
find...
it does it on purpose because it hides it behind a second tab. And if you click update, it will install all the other crap with it that you don't want. You don't want Norton antivirus on your machine.
I had the same problem with
garbage.
NVIDIA and the laptop plus the GPU and Windows driver would sort of, do the normal thing. And then the NVIDIA driver would be like, no, I don't like that. Even if it was identically the same thing, and then it would have a conniption. And then I'd have to go through this thing. And I have to be like, I just want to get on my system and edit. And so it's just like, it was just unnecessarily complicated. And then Dell software, secret software I couldn't find and turn off or stop would like spin up. And like, I have to feel like I have to scan every 5 minutes the whole system to look for a threat and updates. And like, why are you torturing? Again, this is like, why are you guys all overcomplicating it?
Well, I think Microsoft should put their foot down. Like, Microsoft should say, this is bullshit. Next time you do this, we're not giving you the software anymore. Like the all the stuff that gets installed on machines. Like, I don't need all these garbage applications on my machine. I just want the stuff to control the RGB, and that's all I need. Or the stuff to control my fans, right? And that's why I think there should be an open source.
I can tell you, whatever I looked at, whatever is installed on my system, and it's an Asus motherboard, by the way.
Yeah.
Whatever I looked at, it was all very simple. It was like, oh, here's a tab for that, here's a tab for this, here's a tab for that. If you want to spike that out, here's a tab for that.
Asus software is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that on my art PC. Like, that works. I can just open it. It's called AI Suite or something like that. And I can just open it and start the fan and start changing the fan curves and stuff. That's great. Yep. Works great. Even the RGB stuff works. But the Gigabyte stuff, no, it doesn't work. Yeah,
terrible.
Yeah.
All right, you wanted to talk about Subnautica. We've been chatting about a lot of stuff. You got it.
I bought Subnautica Below Zero, and like I asked you before, like if you played Subnautica, but
I hear about it from Paul because he's a fan of the game. And every time I'm sure tomorrow we record our thing about Otakon. We're gonna be talking about that tomorrow since it's happening this weekend. We'll be doing some follow up on. I wasn't there, though I know some people went. We'll be chatting about that, but to the point, like every time he talks about it, 3 or 4 games I hear about him a lot.
I like the first one. It did have some issues at some points, but like alt tabbing had some issues with that. Just stopped working. But like Subnautica Below Zero, it's actually pretty smooth so far. So I've actually enjoyed playing that game, and yeah. I think the only thing I have left on the list is like conferences restarting. So you were talking about Otakon.
Yeah, so Otakon is happening this very weekend that we're recording. So today is is August 7th, and so obviously 6, 7, and 8. Those are the days. Obviously August 6, 7, and 8. So that Otakon's happening, and so I just started a brand new job. And because I started a brand new job, I really don't have PTO. Now, probably I could have sort of worked that into the offer of I'm going to start with negative days and whatever it is. But I'm also in a position where even though I'm new, I'm needed very actively there. So I just when I go to Otakon, it's not like I take my Friday off and I don't have to take my Monday off. No. When I go to Otakon, especially as staff and especially with the kind of stuff I'm doing, I got to bring a lot of gear. So I'm going to want to get there early, which means that means Alan takes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. Then I'm totally at the event, basically Wednesday night or Wednesday day, right? I set stuff up Thursday. Then all the things are happening, right? And there are things for me to do during a period of time. Then we basically pack everything up and we get GTFO, right? And then Monday is when I leave, and even though it's a few hours away, drive back, get home. Now, normally, with the exception obviously of last year and obviously this year, Simon comes down. He drives down from Toronto, so he's here for a few days before he goes home, which is like Thursday. So, like for me, it's like Wednesday to Thursday. That's how many days I take off, right? And so, just started. Kind of is I've found ways around to avoid this problem over the course of time. I have always worked by magic. But at this point, is like, what's the purpose of working some magic? Like, this is going to be too much for me as a human. And it's just too much. So it was just, I've been going to Otakon in one form or another, attendee or staff or associate, since 1997, with the exception of last year, right? No one went to a physical event. I have been basically going to Otakon. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to make it. Now they're there. So a bunch of those people are saying, oh, I won't do it. I'm not going to go. I feel a little
Could you have gone as not a person that helps, or just gone to like the convention?
Well, I'm still helping this year. I'm just doing it remotely. That's all.
But like, could you have gone to the convention itself just as an attendee? Would you?
What would I do? I don't even know what that is anymore. I'm so my world of knowing as an attendee, it's like I see all the anime. I don't need to go there to see the anime. Most of the stuff is not special to me. Yeah. I've already seen all of the contests before it's been judged. Should I go to when I was, running or helping run or participating with AMV Theater? Yeah, I saw all those events. So, like, I think. Pretty sure we didn't really talk about it, but I think Bryce's was in the Iron Editor competition this year. So, good, nice to see. I could document that stuff. So even when I used to go sort of as an attendee, even when I had my own events I was running as an associate, so I had my panels, or I had, sort of the subtitling, music video stuff. I was still always doing something. I was always like blogging or vlogging, or I was always doing something. So like for me to go was more of the social atmosphere than it was more about like sitting around watching the masquerade for 3 hours. Like it's all neat and everything, but there are other things I want to be doing when I'm there.
So I went to 2 Comic-Cons in the Netherlands, and they're basically just
dealers' rooms. Some panels.
No panels at all.
Oh, really?
They're just dealers' rooms. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And John, that's the way it used
garbage.
To be. That's the way it used to be. So the original Comic-Con, that's what it used to be. But then it got a little big. Then something happened where Hollywood got involved. And then it became humongous. And, I mean, now it's just taking over these massive convention centers, and now literally it is attached to, or it is literally like, part of the spinal cord, the nervous system of that whole event is super attached to big business. And that was the same thing for South by Southwest in Austin. It used to be this tiny little music festival. Then they did the interactive, and then a bunch of Silicon Valley things happened there, and now it's attached to corporate business. And so its origin has nothing to do with what it is today. So Comic-Con is this great epic place where you could see your famous celebs and Marvel people and all that stuff. And it is. It's still still doing what its origin of that little dealer room thing, but on a massive scale. And the one in San Diego was doing the most effective way of doing it. Every other Comic Con, whether officially associated or just borrowing that name structure, are very, at best, big dealers' rooms.
Yeah. Well,
I heard New
that's what
York
I
Comic
see
Con
whenever I
is
see,
basically a version of that with some panels, right?
Mm.
With some industry attached to it.
So they had I think the second one I went to, they had like an area with like game stuff, and I think we waited in line for like half an hour before we got in, before it opened, and then we went through it, and we were through it, and like it was just so mobbed with people at the dealers. There were only dealers there. And then we walked through, and there was a little area behind it we had to walk through. It was really dark. And then we walked into another hallway, and they had like some old video game stuff, but that was about it. And there were some I think there was a Blizzard thing with Overwatch, where they were trying to do some esports stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went to a merch. They had a big merch thing for like Half-Life. Like I bought a mug from Black Mesa.
Mm-hmm.
I have some other mugs, but like that's the stuff I buy. And because like I was like, oh yeah, this looks nice, but like there's nothing to do here, like, and it appears that there's like gonna be guests and stuff, and then
the sort of the Otakon scale of things. So like PAX is very focused on, or Gen Con are very focused on games. So Gen Con's more like tabletop plus stuff. PAX is very much video games, right? It's just it's very focused on that. Now I don't know what it is today. I know its original origins were were very, very fun kind of environments for that. I don't go to those. I've never been to a PAX, so I don't really have any. I can't speak to that. And gaming isn't my, it's not what I live and breathe outside of work, right? Otakon has a big gaming component to it. I have walked through there. It's not the thing I would do when I was going to Otakon. It's not anything I cared about. So they have their tabletop and they have video gaming, and they do it at a very sort of serious level, and they have some really neat things. They import some big arcade games and stuff, or arcade machines for things that are special. So, they do it on a large scale. Magfest is music and gaming festival, and there's lots of concerts there that are meant for like chiptunes, concerts and stuff like that. And there's lots of dance components to it. So I don't know how they're surviving now given the whole situation from last year. But they also have these big events. Like they have a big theater room for Artemis, right? And it's more of an entertainment event plus Artemis. And they have all those retro games. And they have all kinds of stuff. They do things in a very big, fun scale fashion. There are plenty of things to do. There are too many things to do. Same thing for Otakon. There are too many things to do. That's how anime cons that run in a large format run in the U.S., including San Diego Comic-Con, probably one of the largest.
Is it? What about artists? Is it the artist?
There's an artist alley, at least at Otakon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it still filled with people, or is it like?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the dealer's room is super huge. It has industry plus. If you're looking for those knickknacks and stuff. Yes. In fact, I think at Otakon this year, and I obviously don't know the details, because they were sort of the first thing that was happening in D.C. The Japanese embassy reached out, so the official torch from the Olympics is sitting in the dealer's room hall when the Japanese embassy has a booth there. So you can take pictures with it.
Okay.
So there's lots of things that go on, and there are too many things to do. And so the problem with these large conventions, at least here in the U.S., is you got to kind of pick a lane. In the case of San Diego Comic-Con, people literally look at which is the biggest big room that has most of all the things I want. And then I'm literally camping. Once I get there and I get into the big room, I am staying there for 15 hours. And I won't leave. Right? And that's what people do at San Diego Comic-Con, because it just doesn't make sense to try to do all the things and move around. You'd be just in lines for hours trying to get into things, and they're over by the time you get in. So people literally just live the camp in a room for most of the day.
Yeah.
In the case of Otakon, none of that happens. We have room players and stuff
did
like
the
that.
same thing in with Google I/O. So
right, sure, right, yeah.
When they still had it in Moscone.
Yeah, and we didn't. Even with Google I/O, even the keynote, they leave us out there for a while, and then once they let us in, we just all got in very rapidly.
Moo noises. When we were driven into the room.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Remember the Bluetooth problem? The guy on the stage was trying to.
Isn't that like with every tech thing?
Oh yeah, probably.
Didn't Apple have the similar thing?
Sure. Yeah. We're gonna ask you to turn your Bluetooth off.
Anyway, let's go through the fun stuff.
Okay, we got very few things in that area. Okay, so I will be sharing out this person, her TikTok. She had a pretty good one about front-end engineers. Polymatic.link/105.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have one for how does a USB keyboard work? It's Ben Eater, I think is his YouTube channel. It's an interesting channel. It's more of like a deep dive into looking at the signals that go through a USB, and compared to PS2, for example. So Polymatic.link/100.
Okay. So this was more for you, John, because I bookmarked this person so I could get to their Etsy eventually. And this is just their TikTok where they show off like new resin things they made, resin art. I just labeled it as nice resin art. But Polymatic.link/106. Did you look at any of them? That
I
one with
did
the
look
dolphin
at it for like a few minutes, but like
the one with the dolphin looks pretty epic. But again, where I live today, like I don't really have a place to decorate the environment.
I'm not one for knickknacks.
I'm not either, but I think that a couple of those would be kind of cool. But it's at least interesting to look at. So if you just want to see the new things that this person makes, pretty neat. There you go. Polymatic.link/106.
Yes. Okay, so next one is the Craftman. Just check out the channel, Polymatic.link/103. It has kind of like a Bob Ross type feel to it. I think that's the best description I can give it, because he like goes into like crafting things, and he's like a puppet avatar, and it's like it's somewhat soothing. It's weird at some points, but it also has so much humor. There's so much humor in it. It reminds me of like Bob Ross with Thistle Tony. That's what it feels like.
With puppets and 3D printing, crafting stuff.
And
it's its own weird thing
somehow.
He
doesn't use a puppet, but like,
right. It's its own weird thing, and I get the feeling that this isn't shtick of the person. This is just shtick plus their creative way of doing stuff. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to explain. Like the guy, you suck at cooking. It's this weird dry humor, and just what this guy does. It just is what it is.
Yeah,
I'm sure he as a person
about the thing that he's building, and I think it's fun. I haven't watched everything. I just watched a few of his videos, but like he sells stuff, and then he sends people stickers extra and spices, Cajun spices or something. I don't know. And it's like, yeah, he feels wholesome in some way. I think it's similar to like like what Evan and Caitlin do. There's some humor in there, and there's some like he has a thing for making figurines. So like plastic action figures. He likes action figures. So he makes his own action figures with like resin molds, and then using a plastic one of those injection molds. He has an injection molding machine. Like, it's really cool stuff. Anyway, Polymatic link /103. 103. What?
I was saying craft man.
I'm the craft man.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was very entertaining.
Yeah. Okay. So just to have something that isn't completely all TikToks, Polymatic that link /107. Mark Roper basically put together a machine that lays dominoes, 100,000 dominoes. Made a big Super Mario Brothers layout, very interesting, and large scale. Most of you probably already seen it, but Polymatic that link /107.
Okay, and then the last one I have for links is the making of Horizon Zero Dawn. Polymatic link /109. It's very interesting to see, how Guerrilla made this game. Well, they usually did like shooters before that, so it's like it's something completely different, and they executed it so well. So definitely try getting that game. It's a time sink, but it's very entertaining. It reminds me a lot of Zelda Breath of the Wild with regards to the open world stuff. So, yeah. Anyway, so that's Polymatic link /109. I've got some music. Overwork, Presence, Polymatic link /104. If you've heard of Overwork, you know what kind of music that is. Then we have Simmel with You Knew It Was Me. He actually came out with a new EP. So Polymatic link /ZU for Simmel. Then I have Lotte Pen. I had no idea how to pronounce this. Triptych 1, 2, and 3. Polymatic link /ZV. I have Slum Reset. Polymatic link /ZX. I probably should space these out a little bit over the next couple, but then I'll have more links for more music. So anyway, this one is actually pretty nice. So 7 p.m. from Animal Crossing, but like the post rocks remix. Polymatic link /ZY. And then I have Caroline Ike and Everseen's Waves, Polymatic link /ZZ. Ben Lucas Boyson with Love, Polymatic link /101. And then Laszlo, Us in Motion. I really like this song. Polymatic link /102. And then we have a new EP from Simmel, Polymatic link /108. It's called Ancient Call. I think that's it. And you can find all those links at Polymatic link /show82. If you didn't want to type them in while you were... Oh, maybe I should have said that before.
I kind of... People know OG Link, at least on OG, so I really kind of... I used to try to start out with that, and I said something lame like, for those who want to play at home and along, whatever. It's something not fluid about saying that. I used to always say that, and now I just kind of say it at the end. And everyone's just very conditioned to, knowing what it is, I would hope. And if people who like to figure out their problems, like, oh, I'm going to preview what they're going to talk about before the release, like, they can figure out the pattern. I don't care.
Okay. Alan, you know what question is coming.
You don't need to find me anywhere. How about that? How about an answer you didn't want to hear?
I'll just cut in something from the last episode.
Fine. You can find me on Twitter at CHAESS. That's my last name. Okay. I don't really say anything there. I barely am there.
Yeah. Okay. Same thing for me, actually, recently. So You can find me on Twitter at webdevy, WEBDEVVIE. And for feedback, you can reach at podcast@Polymatic.media, and I really should open that mailbox at some point. The music is by Sayuns, which you can find at polymatic.link/EK. The Twitter is The Polymatic. Our website is Polymatic.media, and I hope you tune in next time.